Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. How do you know that you're reaching a higher level of consciousness? When does it happen? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And what do you do once you step into the next level of yourself? There are far too many people who believe that you must study for years and years to reach a higher level of consciousness, and I absolutely disagree with that. Look, reading books, attending spiritual seminars, watching TikTok videos or YouTube videos won't get you there. Nope. You can do all of that, and for the rest of your life, you can do all of that, but it isn't the way to reach a higher level of yourself. There's something more that takes place when it comes to your spiritual ascension, something that you just can't find in a book, a training, or a video. And it happens within you. And it happens when you least expect it. And when it happens, you're going to be placed eyeball to eyeball with the things that scare you most. And just before you reach a higher level of consciousness, things in your world start to change shape. People will go, circumstances will change, and you, my dear, will begin to have this sense inside that something is happening, something big, something unusual, something new. You see, just before you reach a higher level of consciousness, you're going to come face to face with all of the old fears that you've kept under wraps. You know, the ones that you've buried and convinced yourself that you don't have anymore, those. The ones that you think you figured out and learned from, but you haven't. The old fears that you haven't faced will resurface, and they have to in order for you to grow. I mean, we got to face our fears, and we've got to dismantle them. It's not a trap, quite the opposite. You see, the universe wants to show you which fears you haven't really dealt with, which ones are holding you back. And that's really all the purpose of those fears showing up, and which ones really need to be dealt with right then and there in order for you to move forward in your life and to get where you need to go according to your soul's plan. You see, the universe wants to show you that your old patterns no longer have power over you, or at least maybe they have less power. So just before you reach a higher level of consciousness, you will need to recognize that your shadow parts, your little child state, has to be dealt with in order for you to ascend. And you'll need to look at all the fears that show up so that you can once and for all obliterate them one by one by one. Look, I have felt like a fraud a few times in my life, not because I am malicious or fraudulent with intention, but I have been fraudulent with myself. And a few times in my life, I realized I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't paying attention to what was holding me back. And I wasn't really ready to see the patterns of withholding from self that I was practicing. I've had fraudulent stories about me and money, in other words, the ones that I practice. I have had fraudulent stories about who I truly am. Both of those come with beliefs that are not true. And I've had to work on both of those my entire life. And I had to see how I wasn't taking responsibility for my own welfare overall, how I related to money, my relationship with it, how I related to myself, my relationship to myself, how I related to the world, my relationship with the world. So I've had to go through some pretty challenging experiences on behalf of all of those things. But I have a question for you. Can you look back on your life and see where your old fears and patterns showed up during and after something occurred in your life? Our fears are so insanely powerful, yet they are just thoughts based on the anticipation of negative outcomes. That's all they are. And the funny thing is that you can't transcend your fears during any other time than when they are actually occurring in the very moment they're active. That's the trick. So if you trust your capacity to not just survive but thrive when your fears show up, you'll know what to do because it will register within you. I have a fear of public speaking. I have a fear of walking out of the house. I have a fear of dogs. I have a fear of being seen. You'll feel the fear showing up in your body. It lives somewhere or in multiple places. And you can even sense its shape, its color, its density within you. And all you have to do is just ask the fears that show up, hey, why are you here? What do you need me to know? What do you need me to do? And your fears will answer you if you just allow them. It's not a thinking thing. It's an allowing thing. And if you trust your ability to thrive during fear, then you will simply do, be, and have whatever it takes to transcend them, to change them, to dismantle them. And it's in the moments of fear, when fear presents itself, that you have the opportunity to prove the fearful thoughts and beliefs wrong, right? By changing how you see them and then taking action against them. And when I mean against them, I mean guided action so that you disprove them. The universe reminds you to trust yourself during these times. You've gotten this far making decisions, haven't you? And the majority of your decisions haven't been bad, and that's just the truth. So remember that. We all have fears that point to our faults, our insecurities, and our desires, and our fear of getting our desires. What if I fail? What if I succeed? What if I land the job? What if I don't? What if I never become the person I see myself becoming? And what do I do if I live with the guilt and the shame of that? Fear lives in the land of what ifs, the kind of what ifs that don't lead to helpful answers. So when you trust yourself to question your fears and thoughts, that's when you have a chance to transcend and level up. So when fears show up, when your beliefs feel challenged, and when you're wondering what in God's name is happening in your life because your life feels chaotic, uncomfortable, and lacking, your fears are showing up, asking you to face them head on, to talk with them, and to use them to become more of who you're meant to be. Look at your fears. The idea of looking at your fears is far scarier than actually facing them. Notice how long you've held on to them. It's likely that they're severely outdated. They're embedded in your subconscious from your child rearing, and that they don't maybe even belong to you. Maybe the beliefs were handed down and you took on those fears as if they were yours. Really look at that. Like you could ask yourself, well, where's the origin of this fear? Is it in something actually that's happened in my life? Or is it something that I grew up with fearing? Once you've realized that practicing the habit of fearful thinking, it doesn't help you, then you can move more easily into identifying when fear sets in, what it feels like, and what it needs from you to permanently go away. Face your fears. Do the work. Find the energy of your fears. Find the message in your fears. Find the clarity. And then take the step up and reach that higher level of consciousness by doing differently, by dismantling your fears, by proving your fears wrong, by facing them. Trust me, the air is much easier to breathe as you continue to step up the ladder of your up-leveling. I hope today was helpful, short, sweet, and to the point. But fears, all they are just thoughts in our head. They are the worries about what we anticipate happening. And whatever you choose to focus on, you will call in. If you want to stay in a fearful state, that's your choice. If you don't, look at what is really underneath, the belief underneath the fear that you have, where it sits in your body, and start to question it. Start to neutralize it by asking why it's here. What does it need from you? What is it trying to tell you? What steps do you need to take to eliminate it? And I promise you, you will. I wish you a blessed day, a wonderful week, and as always, live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend, and be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.